January 2, 2020, and it is warm. If you saw my episode yesterday, we had a pretty good storm, about 10 inches cumulative throughout the day, but now it's almost 35 degrees and too warm. I don't like it this warm, but I'm out checking out to see how the neighborhood trails are doing. For having 10 inches, they're not too bad. This gets enough foot travel that they get packed down pretty well when we go without having snowfall for a while. So up to yesterday, they are really good. But now they're a little loose, and it'll take a few days to get back into good condition. But bad trail conditions mean good skiing conditions. So skiing's good. Anyways, like I said, I'm 37 and a half hours into my fast. I'm doing a 28-day challenge, running and fasting. View yesterday's video if you missed that to kind of get a full scope of what this 28-day challenge is for me. But I started a 56-hour fast New Year's Eve midnight, and so I'm 37 and a half hours in. And the longest I've gone fasting, a prolonged fast, is 48 hours. But I'm now running 10 miles a day for 28 days. So I've never fasted this long with this amount of running. I usually scale back my running when I do a prolonged fast. So it'll be interesting to me, again, like yesterday's video, hey, doing something new, shocking your system. I'm anxious to see kind of how I finish up with this 56 hours tomorrow at 8 a.m. But on today's run, I'm doing 5 miles. It's just after noon, and I'll do 5 miles tonight. And I started out feeling great, but then kind of in the middle of the run, again, it's not a long run, but I started just, I don't know if my head's playing with me or I think I'm lacking energy, but I just kind of went up and down through good and bad patches, and I find myself getting impatient and wanting to get it over with. So I started to speed up, and due to the conditions I started to kind of slip in some of the loose snow, and I started to get frustrated, and I just said, okay, I just need to chill out, relax, slow it down, be patient. And then I settled in for the last 2 miles and felt really good, like I could sustain it for quite some time, several hours actually. So I started out feeling good, middle not so good, and then finished up good. And so I'm encouraged by that, but I've been doing this for quite a while now, so I'm used to running, at least doing intermittent fasting. So anyways, a couple of you have asked about my footwear for running in the winter and in the snow, and I'm going to be doing a full scope, the shoes I use for winter, in a few weeks once I kind of dial into that. But today I've got the Salomon S-Lab Soft Ground. The reason I brought these out, they have a kind of a good lug, but they're kind of worn. Can't really see it, but they're a little bit worn from use. I've had them for 2 years, but today's mixed terrain, I hit a little bit of patchy pavement, a little bit of hard snow, a little bit of soft snow, so I knew I needed a shoe that was going to be good for a lot of things. So when you're in soft, slippery snow, nothing really works. So I just slow down. It's a good time just to slow down and chill and just give what Mother Nature gives to you. But so yeah, got the Salomon S-Lab Soft Ground for today's run, and I'll keep you updated as to kind of what I use throughout these videos, but again with a full review coming. But today's coaching tip is a piggyback off of yesterday's tip about how the new year comes, maybe base building, foundation building, and how you need to maybe change some things up. Again, go back and refer to that one. But what I want to talk about today is during base building, foundation building, whatever word we want to use for it, is a great time to work on your weaknesses. When we have a weakness, and we all do, ooh, we got some ducks coming down here, floating down the river. There they go. All right. So when we're training our strengths and weaknesses, early season strength building, foundation building, base building is a time we want to work on our weakness. that's the time when we're building our fitness, and it's a time where we can be patient building our weakness, because a lot of times when we do train our weakness, we get frustrated. And that's really what starts to get us in trouble, is we get frustrated because maybe we're not so good at it. And therefore, when we do it, when we train that way, when we train our weakness, we get frustrated. And then slowly but surely through time, we start to gravitate away and stop doing that because it's frustrating, or it's hard, it's challenging, because it is our weakness. So doing it during base building is a great time for that, because it's going to help your strength. And if you start to see that training your weakness, it's not so much that we want to get better at that type of training, but we want to use that type of training to improve your weakness, to improve your strength. Okay, so see it that way, that maybe that helps you give some patience during that frustration time. So foundation building, start training your weakness. How can we develop or kind of detect what our weakness is? Going back to that frustration. What are the types of workouts that you love to do? And what are those workouts that you hate to do, that you cringe, that's on the schedule, or that you gravitate away from? For me, you know, I love sprinting. I love doing hill work. I love anything that's strength and speed oriented, because that's the type of the runner I am. So I gravitate away from a lot of flat running, especially during the summer when I'm in the mountains and doing a lot of vertical. So I tend to stay away from long, sustained flat running. And so part of my 28-day challenge is upping the volume with these 10 miles each day of nice, what is relatively flat for me. Okay, so I'm training my weakness as a big part of my strength and foundation building and my base building. So to really detect what your weakness is, really reflect on yourself and look back at your training schedule, look back at what you do this last year and say, what do I gravitate away from? What don't I do? Do I veer away from doing fast sprints or hill workouts? What are the things that I don't like to do? And that's 9 times out of 10 your weakness, because it's human nature to kind of gravitate away from what's maybe difficult or challenging or frustrating for us. So be honest with yourself, reflect on that, and start incorporating 1 or 2 of those types of workouts throughout your week during base building. And then as you start getting into the meat of the season or closer to some of your more higher priority races, that's when you want to start integrating your strength, the type of runs that you love to do. And now you're really invigorated to do that. And so you're stoked to do that. And that feeds into the training. But now by training your weakness, you're a little bit better at your strength to maybe elevate your performance and to really improve. And especially if you've been stagnant the last few years. So it's a great way to improve in general. What we want to avoid is doing it just the opposite. We don't want to do a lot of our strength early season. Do that closer to the race. Same with weaknesses. We don't want to start to go to training our weakness once the weather gets nice and once we get closer to races, because now we're going to get frustrated. It's going to mess with our head a little bit. We want to start having our brain say good things to ourselves as we get closer and closer to the race. And by training your strength, that will help achieve that. So try that out. Get after your weakness during these early season months. And that's all I got for you today. Got a little bit of stuff still poking through the snow, and the neighborhood trails. I'm going to finish up my run. I got a nice half-mile cool down to get my 5 miles in, and then I'm going to hit it tonight. So I'll see you next time.